everyone. Hope you're having a good day. Let's check out our TradrPro webinar outline. We're going to talk a lot about the alert system. So I want to tell you what it is, how our alerts were created, the different alerts that we have to choose from, some different examples because there are different market environments that favor different alerts as far as their success rate, just like different trading styles have to change with market environments as well. How to set up the alert, choosing which coins you're going to be looking at, and then we'll answer any questions if you have them. So hello, first things first, this TradrPro Alert System is not going to tell you straight up when to buy and sell. This is not for someone who doesn't know anything about crypto and says, I just want something that sends me green and red. This is for traders that are putting in time and effort and education to learning how to trade. And this is a tool to utilize to help them learn how to trade and to also keep them from having to stare at the charts 24/7. I've been staring at the charts 24/7 for the last 8 years in a row, nonstop. And it's nice to be able to step away from them and be alerted when things are going on while I'm not staring at the screen. So this is for traders that are already, have their game plans established and have their styles established, or newer traders that are looking to establish their style and trade game plan. And again, utilizing this tool because it's a great, as I'll show you in just a minute, it's a great way to go back and back test things. We can look back at historical examples that have played out. And again, just getting a better sense of how different indicators can align. A lot of these alerts are a lot of different pieces of the puzzle all put into one. And just an example of myself, who are these making these alerts? Myself, Toby, our developer Stu, Jason, all of us behind the scenes, brainstorming. And essentially, these alerts are created by trying to program my brain, essentially. All the things that I look for on a chart, we're trying to quantify it and put numerical values to it so it can be replicated and so we can be alerted when something is happening. Because before I started teaching people and focusing on education with technical analysis, I would just do things. And I would do things because I had my own flow and routine. And then when someone started asking a question, why did you do that? Okay, well now I've got to dive in and reflect and say, okay, why did I look to take that trade there? What were the signals that were aligning for me? So that's been the journey over the last few years. At this point, this alert system, I think it's about 4 years old. And it's been just trying to turn my brain and my intuition and the signals that I use into numerical values that can be replicated. So the best example is Toby, who has been helping a lot behind the scenes. And if you have any questions, or if you email info@traderpro.com, you're going to be talking to Toby. But he had a great example where he was in line at the grocery store, literally waiting to pay for his groceries, and he got an alert. And again, this is to go with him being a trader. He knew what the chart was doing, roughly speaking, and he knew what he would be looking for if he got this alert. And so he got this alert while in line at the supermarket, and he was able to pay for his groceries with a trade that he took while in line. And I think that's just the perfect example of the ideal scenario of how to utilize this system and how it can be a benefit to traders when away from our home base, away from our computer and multiple monitors and potentially mobile. And if there's an opportunity that we're comfortable with, looking to jump on that. So one thing that we're going to be focusing on here a lot is how the different market environments favor different alerts. Just like trading styles. If I traded the same way in the raging bull market, traded in this current market that same way, I'd be losing money. We have to adapt to changing market environments and change our trends, or change our trading style, I should say. And so for me, the best example of the easiest time to trade and what fits my style most ideally is BackBurners. You've heard me talk about BackBurners a bunch. If not, Google ChartGuys BackBurners. There's a lot of information on it. But it's essentially a strong bull trend. We have three markets. We have strong uptrends, sideways chop, and strong downtrends. So when we're in a strong uptrend, I use BackBurners to make my entries. So I'm not chasing. Okay, big breakout. I don't want to buy into that momentum. I want to wait until there's consolidation. I want to wait to be scouting an hourly high or low and looking for first 5-minute oversold conditions. And we have a very high conviction of these trade signals in that market environment. And if I look back at, the bull run of 2021, it's pretty much how I made the vast majority of my profits. was these short-term BackBurner bounces. And I go all the way back to 2017. I had a buddy that I was living with who was into crypto but knew nothing about charts and trading. And I said to him, just buy when the 5-minute line goes under 30. And that worked really well for a long time. But if you're trading 5-minute oversold conditions in a bear market, you're going to get crushed if you're trading them bullish. So we need to recognize the longer term trends. Right now, Bitcoin is in a monthly and weekly downtrend. It just today confirmed a daily uptrend and it's trying to see some follow through. But we just exited, or we're attempting to exit, a sideways market. We were just trading sideways for about 2 weeks. So it was a bear market with clear downtrends on all time frames. We then went sideways for about 2 weeks, and now we're attempting a daily uptrend with some follow through. So again, we want to be able to identify those 3 market environments: strong uptrend, sideways chop, strong downtrend, because the different alerts are going to be useful in different scenarios. We also have to remember that one person's alert for an entry is going to be another person's alert for an exit. So what do I mean by that? I mean, if I am playing a bounce, let's say we just had a big dump and I'm playing a bounce and I'm using reverse BackBurner, meaning if hourly RSI hits 70 for the first time while in a weekly and daily downtrend, I'm just playing an oversold bounce. I'm using that 70 level to potentially be my exit and my profit taking. Somebody else is going to use the RSI on the hourly hitting 70 to potentially enter a short. It's roughly the same thing, but we're looking to take different actions on that signal. So we have to keep that in mind as well. One person's exit could potentially be another person's entry. It depends on whether you favor trading bullish or bearish. And ideally, we want the direction of our trading to favor the direction of the trends. So let's go over the website now real quick and go over some examples. And I'll show you how to set up the alerts, and we'll talk about the different kinds of alerts that we have. So TradrPro.com is the website. And there's a bunch of useful information that you can get on there. So I very much suggest playing around on this website, going to the setup guide and saying, okay, here's some simple steps on how I set up my alerts. And these alerts can be sent through Telegram or email. I would suggest Telegram just because you get them a little bit sooner. You can get them on multiple devices, on your computer and your phone, and they're just a little bit faster than on email. But it tells you how to set it up. If you go to FAQ, there's a whole bunch of questions that get answered. You can do contact us and get right in touch with Toby, who is very responsive and will be happy to answer any of your questions. And just other little bits of useful information. So let's go now to the different alerts that we've got. We've got 13 of them. We got your standard alerts, RSI, Golden and Death Cross, MACD. So those things are pretty straightforward. Nothing groundbreaking there. But we have others that are proprietary that are, again, the ones that we've invented, so to speak. Abnormal volume is a good one. But again, you can click on these alerts and find, multiple paragraphs describing what these alerts are, how they are most useful to be utilized. And on some of them, there's videos here. So SuperStack, what is a SuperStack? I've never heard of that. Well, that's because we made the name up. But there's a 10-minute video telling you all about what SuperStack is and talking about, look what I'm talking about, market cycles, the different environments that we want to be using. So I suggest going into these alerts and watching the SuperStack video, watching the BackBurner video to give more information on when to best be utilizing these alerts. And just as an example, we're going to look at them in just a moment, but BackBurner alerts favored bears over the last couple of months. Today, we just got a first BackBurner alert for the bulls that was successful. Why was today notable? I'll show you in a minute, but it's because we've seen the bull move over the last couple of days. But let's start bigger picture. So the first alert that we're going to be looking at here, and this is what the layout looks like in the charts and stuff. And again, it's very intuitive as far as being very similar to TradingView and how you can move around and zoom in and zoom out. And again, the most important aspect here is you are able to backtest. You are able to see how did this alert work out for this coin in this market environment over the last couple of months. Was it a good signal or a bad signal? And we are looking right now at Bitcoin. We got our first ever weekly SuperStack. So very quickly, I'm not going to explain it as in-depth as a 10-minute video, but the SuperStack alert is when we see, when I say I'm looking to play a bounce against momentum, Like when I played the bounce when Bitcoin broke 20,000 and we played that swing trade bullish, that's because we had extreme RSI levels on a ton of time frames all aligning. The weekly, the daily, the 4-hour, the hourly, the 15-minute were all crushed RSI levels. So what this alert is doing is scanning a bunch of time frames. If I'm on the weekly time frame, it's scanning the weekly on down. If I'm on the hourly, it's scanning the hourly, the 15-minute on down. But it's scanning all these different time frames to determine when we are reaching a certain threshold of extreme conditions on all these time frames at the same time. So the only time this has ever happened in the last 4 years since we created this for Bitcoin was this most recent dump. This was a weekly SuperStack signal. And this is the chart view right now that we're looking at here. If you go to the log view, it'll tell you exactly when the alert went out and the levels that it went out at. So it went out in the 18,000s for the first time ever and ended up getting that bounce up to 25,000 plus. So far so good. Nice first ever successful alert there. We can go back to the daily. We've gotten a lot more daily SuperStack signals, and we can go back and see the daily has fired a number of times. We had the daily firing as far as overbought conditions up near that top. And again, it's not nailing tops and bottoms. Sometimes it does, which is why scaling in and out of trades, you've heard me talk about that many times. I don't expect that I'm going to nail tops and bottoms. So if I'm trying to make just one entry, if I don't expect to nail tops and bottoms as a full-time trader over the last however many years, I need to be scaling in and out. So I want to be entering multiple orders. So if I get this alert, it doesn't mean, okay, I'm putting my entire position in right now. It means, okay, I'm making my first entry and I've got another entry, maybe 2% lower, and then my final entry, 2% lower than that. But we can see that these daily super stacks have had some very nice success. The ones that don't really get much success, they at least let us know we are in an extreme enough scenario to expect sideways. Pretty much the failures here were sideways that ended up being bear flags and dropping to lower lows. But plenty of times here, I mean, if you just go long these super stack bulls, if you're able to set it and forget it, if you long these daily super stacks, sell when it's overbought or short. Again, that's the multiple different aspects of a signal. You can be looking to exit along there, you can be looking to short there, but all of these climax type bottoms were found using all these time frames aligned with each other. So that's the super stack. And I personally love oversold bounces, so you know I'm using that on oversold conditions to help me pinpoint those entries. Next example is a BackBurner for bears. So this is what we could call it a reverse BackBurner. So this is Binance. And the BackBurners for bears are best out of a trending bear market. So this is after our climax bottom. And Binance hit a climax bottom down in the 180s and then bounced very notably, like most things did. But from 180 up to 230, 240s, and that's what, 20, 30% bounce almost. And then 4-hour RSI hit above 70 for the first time in a trending bear market. Again, it didn't nail the top. We putted around sideways for a while, but that's an indication to tell us either, hey, if you played that bounce, now's a good time to take some profits, or hey, if you missed that bounce, but you want to play with the bearish trend and you're looking for a daily lower high, now's a time to start scouting that bearish entry. So again, it's not the alert alone. For me, if I would get this alert, I'd say, okay, I'm going to make maybe one bear entry here, and I'm going to enter one more if we get up towards 248. If we never get there, I never make my second entry, but I can see the bull break with zero follow through here, and then we finally rolled over into a 15% pullback. So these alerts just serve as a nice guide to help us, snap us out of it, snap us out of our emotions. Because if I buy at 190 and here we are up at 230, oh man, what a trade, counting all my profits. And then my alert fires off, hey, this is a back burner in reverse conditions here. Might be a good time to take some profit. That can help me rein in those emotions. And my little robot friend can give me a poke and say, maybe take half that position off because we bounced a lot over the last couple of days. Next example is going to be BNB on the just standard 4-hour RSI. So we've talked about ranging markets, or I should say breakout markets for back burners buying bounces, breakdown markets, for SuperStacks, or for reverse backburners. This is a sideways market. This is Binance on the 4-hour chart over the end of August into the start of September here just recently. And we can see that when we are range bound, the RSI acts almost as like the bumpers in pool. Nope, not pool. In bowling. When you're bowling and you put the bumpers over the gutters, it's almost keeping the price contained, where we hit 4-hour oversold and it leads into a bounce. And we hit 4-hour overbought and it leads to a pullback. And we're not looking for the same kinds of moves. In a trending market, we're looking for 5 to 20% moves. And in a sideways market, we're looking for 2 to 5% moves. For me personally, when we're in a sideways market, I'm trading stocks. I'm trading something with low fees, and I'm not really interested in crypto as much. But there are people out there who are only crypto traders, and they're full-time traders. And so there is still opportunity in a sideways market. And RSI, again, it's not seeing RSI as oversold and rushing into a trade. It's seeing RSI as oversold and establishing a trade game plan. Okay, where is our support? How much risk am I willing to take on? Where am I going to put my stop loss? But we can see that for the most part, 4-hour RSI in the range-bound market here has done a good job of pinpointing fairly closely local highs and local lows. So I would be using just your simple standard RSI, because when you're trading sideways, you're not going to be getting these extreme scenarios that lead to super stacks or lead to overbought and oversold climaxes, because obviously we're trading sideways. So the last example here is an Ape USDT 4-hour overbought and oversold climax. The difference with this alert than SuperStack is this is not looking at a bunch of different time frames. This is looking at a number of indicators. This is looking at volume and RSI and price action. So we know that volume climaxes often occur at tops and bottoms, and that's just because you have the highest influx of, let's say if you're looking for a climax on a dump, you have the highest influx of shorts covering and bulls buying the dip at the same time. And that often leads to a V-shaped bounce that marks a bottom. And so again, on the scenarios here where it was not really, I wouldn't call it a failure, but didn't really play out, this is the kind of scenario where we trade sideways. It indicates extremes. We then chop around sideways and end up in a bear flag, but this at least allows for positioning to put a stop at break even. If the alert goes off back here at 527 and we end up a bit later all the way up at 557, we bounced over 5%. So hopefully at that point, worst case scenario, we are keeping our risk very small, but otherwise we see a nice bottom there, a nice top there. But overbought and oversold climaxes focuses more on volume, but it's, again, most ideal in a trending market when you've got a significant trend and you're looking for an exhaustion top or an exhaustion bottom to be set. So long story short, I would suggest using the more extreme proprietary alerts that we've got, the overbought, oversold climaxes, the super stacks, and the backburners. So let's break it down. Super stack and overbought and oversold climax are looking counter the momentum. They're looking for an exhaustion top or bottom to be set in a strong trending market. The backburner is looking to trade with the trend in a strong trending market. And the other alerts, again, we'll go into some more examples here, but abnormal volume, I want to be watching abnormal volume on a short-term time frame in a sideways market. Because if the abnormal volume triggers while in a sideways market, that's giving me a heads up, hey, pay attention because we may be about to see a break from this sideways range. Or maybe Elon Musk has Twitter news and Doge is going to pop, like we saw today. One more example here, fresh from today, first one in a while. Let's look at Coinbase, Bitcoin, USD, 5-minute BackBurner. There she goes. So when's the last time we've seen a 5-minute bull BackBurner? We haven't seen one in a very long time because we've been in a trending bear market. But over the last 2 days, we've seen a solid bull move. This triggers at, no, I don't have the right alert up, but it triggers, we'll say roughly at 19.9 And here we are up 2% higher. So if I'm feeling FOMO and I want an entry, first 5-minute oversold conditions, hourly higher low set. And it's funny because I was not trading crypto today, but I traded that 5-minute BackBurner on QQQ. Same thing. QQQ, SPY, and Bitcoin were all doing the same thing there, but they all had an extremely strong 2-day run for the bulls, which has us watching for bulls to see strong dip buying. Because again, there's FOMO the last 2 days. If you look at stocks, the move that we've seen, definitely big enough, 6% move straight off the lows. So we hit first 5-minute oversold conditions, alert goes out, that marks the hourly high or low, and that's the perfect example of an anti-FOMO alert. Because if the price is running without me, I don't want to just jump in. I need to wait for consolidation. And so I use the backburners as my anti-FOMO. Okay, I'll look for first 5-minute oversold if I really want to get in. If I want to be more patient, I'm going to wait for first 15-minute or first hourly oversold conditions. And again, that is up to you as the individual trader. Are you aggressive and using a 5-minute signal? Or are you patient and using an hourly signal? That's different for every single user. So you've got to know yourself and feel it out as a trader to determine which you are. And that's something that, again, this becomes a tool in helping to get to know yourself as a trader, whether you're looking to be bullish or bearish, whether you're looking to be aggressive or conservative. It's going to depend on which time frames and which alerts you're focused on. So real quick, how to set up an alert. So if I'm on the website here and logged in, I go to add alert, exchange. If you don't have any of these exchanges, if you're on, say, FTX, back in 2017, that used to matter when liquidity was a lot different and there was a lot of arbitrage opportunities and something was happening on one exchange and not on the other. But this day and age, it's a lot different. And there's a lot more bots and automated trading that keep these exchanges very similar. And so if you're on FTX, I wouldn't look at this and say, oh, well, we don't have FTX, this isn't for me. I would definitely just use Binance or Coinbase, and it's going to be giving me the same information. It's going to be very slightly different. Instead of, maybe on Coinbase, it triggers at 19,915, and maybe on Binance, it triggers at 19,907 or something like that. But you can definitely utilize this on one of the major exchanges, even if yours is not there. So I wouldn't let that be a deterrent from giving this a shot. But let's just say Coinbase will do, ADA, and I'm going to do a manual setup here. So alert type, what do I care about? Well, I've got a bullish position right now, and I want some help on determining where to take some profit. Because I know that we've got a bull move on the daily, but I also know we're in a weekly downtrend. So I'm going to be looking to take some profit, and I want to know when we hit a backburner on the 4-hour. I'm also interested in, let's say, abnormal volume. I want to know if there's a big spike in volume to tell me that I should get to the computer and pay attention. So those are the alerts I'm interested in. Now the time frames. So I'm looking at, all right, I care about abnormal volume on the 15-minute, and I care about a backburner on the 4-hour. If we see a 4-hour backburner on a bounce and I'm playing counter trend, I'm going to take some profit at that signal. So I add those alerts. I already add. That's my mistake because when I was practicing, I already added that alert. So let's just use this as an example here, one that I set up earlier. But I can then go in and look at bear and bull and say, well, I'm in a bull position, and I don't care if we're going to see 15-minute oversold SuperStack. I'm going to turn that off because I'm looking to the upside. I'm looking for help taking profit. And I don't care about abnormal volume on the 4-hour because that's going to be a very late signal. I want to know about the abnormal volume on the 15-minute. So I'm going to get rid of that. So you can just move in here and narrow it down. You don't want to be using too many alerts. Some people, they'll play around with this alert system, and next thing you know, they've got 20 coins alerting 5 different alerts, and their phone is just blowing up. And we obviously don't want to do that. We want to be a little bit selective, and maybe we're looking at 3 coins, and maybe we're looking at 2 or 3 different kinds of alerts, but we don't want 16 alerts a day, ideally. We want to know that if we get an alert, something's going on. I've been hanging out with my girlfriend in the past at some 9 p.m. at night, and we'll be watching a thing or whatever, and the phone will just start going off. And we know something's happening in crypto. Let's check on what's going on because we're getting an alert and we haven't seen an alert in 2 days. So I personally prefer there to be much more sparse alerts so that I know if I'm getting one that I need to be paying attention, because the last thing you want to do is have too many alerts and then you just ignore them and you miss the useful ones. So I would suggest being a little bit selective. But anyways, once with one coin you have all these things set, you can then click this plus button and click a preset and say Dan's setup. And so now I've got a preset here, and when I go and add any other alert to any other coin, I can then just use that preset and say, okay, well, I've already filled this out for one coin. I don't want to keep doing it for all these other individual coins. So let me go to my preset. We have some already established ones with just some basic guides. If we're in an uptrend, I can just put the uptrend on a preset for all my alerts, or day trading and swing trading. This is going to be focused more on shorter term time frames versus longer term time frames. But now I've got my setup here, and I can just apply that to every coin that I add if I want to keep the same alerts and the same time frames for all these different coins. So that's another aspect. But again, it takes a little bit of playing around with, and I suggest doing so to get comfortable. And again, always go back to the chart view and you can look back and see how things played out, because there's going to be plenty of alerts where, man, that hasn't been much use in this sideways market. So I'm not going to be very interested in it. Inside bars. In our sideways choppy market, inside bars have not been giving us any good signals. So I don't care about daily inside bar breaks in a sideways range. That doesn't mean anything to me. So look back historically and utilize that historical information. So which coins am I going to be looking to trade? We want to have familiarity. So ideally, I find that I trade stocks and crypto the best when I have a few names and I get familiar with how they trade and I stick with those names. It also helps to be able to do the math on the fly in your head. I know this many coins costs me this many dollars, and I know $1,000 move on Bitcoin with this many coins is going to be this much profit or loss. And so that's when we're most comfortable. But there are a lot of traders out there who prefer to jump around to where the action is. But this is a guide. Again, you hear me talking about the Binance, or I should say the Bitcoin pairings of altcoins all the time. This is just a rough guide. If Bitcoin's going up and the dominance is going up, which is what is happening right now, then I want to be focusing a bit more on the Bitcoin bulls. If Bitcoin's going up but the dominance is going down, that shows me altcoins are leading, and I want to find the stronger altcoins to be focused on. But generally, it's the BTC pairings which are going to give this information to us. And I personally always want to have a couple of bulls in my pocket and a couple of bears in my pocket. And I just mean names that I will look to if Bitcoin is showing strength, and names that I will look to if Bitcoin is showing weakness. So Binance BTC is up at all-time highs. Yes, there's an uptrend resistance line that we can be keeping an eye on, but this has clearly been one of the strongest coins over the last few months. So if Bitcoin is going to be strong, I want to focus on Bitcoin bulls, and I want to focus on the stronger altcoins. Likewise, I want to be prepared for the other direction. Okay, Bitcoin just broke bull on the daily, but we've still got weekly EMA 12 resistance. What if this daily bull break on Bitcoin just results in a quick weekly lower high and yet another EMA 12 resistance rejection? That's entirely possible. So I want to be prepared. I want to put on, I'm a bull, but I want to put on my bear glasses and say, okay, I need to be prepared if we see a quick turnaround and a lack of any bull follow through. And so we look at the BTC pairings, and some examples over the last couple of weeks that we've been looking at. We had the Atom shift with the weekly stair step. As soon as that breaks bear, we know that Atom is starting to be a weaker name. And then we had it with CHZ, and it did the same thing, the daily head and shoulders. We had this little bounce, and as soon as we confirm this bear flag, that confirms a daily downtrend for the first time on CHZ BTC in weeks, and we can see a lead bull shifting into a lead bear. 2 weeks of lead bull, and now a week and a couple days of being a lead bear. So again, this is an aspect where if I just give this alert system to average trader Joe, they're going to be overwhelmed. But someone who's been putting in time and effort and education over the last couple years and knows about these BTC pairings and how to keep an eye on them, it's going to be a lot more useful. So let's say, for example, if I'm looking for a bearish entry on CHZ USDT, I want to keep an eye out for maybe an inside bar breaking bear. If I see a really tight range shaping up, I want to be aware of when an inside bar breaks bear. Because if there's a daily inside bar, and I don't know if there's one around here, but if there's a daily inside bar, that tells me that it's a tightening range on a shorter term time frame. And so if that tightening range breaks bear, I want to be aware of that to potentially jump in a bear position. So let's just say if this 4-hour equilibrium on CHZ were to keep tightening up to give us a couple daily inside bars, I want to be alerted if that daily inside bar breaks bear, because that's going to tell me this 4-hour equilibrium has broken bear, and I already know the CHZ BTC pairing has been weak over the last 2 weeks. And so that would essentially be aligning multiple, essentially a confluence of signals. So I'm looking for a short-term sideways range to break bear to continue the downtrend that we have been in. And ideally, this trade would follow through for the bears a lot better if Bitcoin were to top out as well. So just an example of a name to be keeping in mind in my back pocket. I'm not going to trade it bearish if Bitcoin stays strong. But if I start to see red flags, if Bitcoin breaks 20.4 and then loses the 4-hour uptrend from here, that's a big red flag for me. And that would have me wanting to focus more on shorts. So essentially, I want to be prepared if the market environment shifts, is what it all boils down to. But I'm wrapping it up. Any issues, email in, and we will be happy to help. Thanks, everyone. Hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you tomorrow, 2 p.m. Eastern, crypto live stream.